Howdy folks, this is a requested product I actually started working on before I started my 4mm bit holder, and then through the folks here and on the multitool.org website kind of convinced me to take another crack at this, and this is what I came up with. So this is an exchangeable flat bit holder for the Leatherman Free series. It installs on either the P2 or the P4, and then lets you use Leatherman Flat style bits in your tool. So you do lose, compared to the 4mm bit holder, and I have a separate video on this, you do unfortunately lose the bottle opener. Simply didn't work out, but the cool part is you don't need any magnets like you have to with the 4mm. So how this guy works is two little kind of spring-loaded arms, and they're you can adjust the tension by pushing these in or prying these out a little bit if you want a tighter or looser grip on the actual bit. Take a little bit of adjustment when you first get it, but as you can see right now, it's an extremely good fit. And then it also will fit horizontally a normal 1/4-inch bit. So I already have this installed on my free P4, and then it works really well. It's extremely solid installed. You fold it into the tool just like normal, and by default it replaces the screwdriver and kind of the pry bar flathead thingy that they put in there, package opener, they call it a whole bunch of stuff. So that's the default that it replaces. There's other folks who have kind of swapped tools around in order to keep the pry bar. You can remove two of the other implements from the other side. Oh, and if you want to know what this little thingy is, I'll give you a hint. Details on that on multitool.org. Work in progress. So we're going to show how to install this. I'm going to actually remove the 4mm from my P2 and put this in. The steps are exactly the same whether you're taking these in or out, and you can also look at my 4mm installation video also. So one thing I did decide to change is, let's go ahead and put a clamp on here. Let's see where's the best place to put this. This way the tool kind of doesn't come apart, have the ability to come apart on you. I know I've had some folks that have already kind of had trouble with that. Come on. It's kind of hard to get a grip on here. Let's see. It's easier on the P4 to do this. Well, first of all, what you would end up wanting to do is deploy the blades. It makes it a little easier to get this out, and then probably easier to get that clamp on. There we go. So what you'll need is two Torx T9 size bits. So you can either use, like I'm using a combination of a screwdriver and these kind of little gorilla grips. You can use two of those if you need. And what you're going to do is hold on one side and get this aligned. Come on, there we go. And then unscrew the other side. And you're going to start to see, I'll zoom in here, please forget the camera shake while I do this, that one side's got a shoulder and the other side's actually kind of got a screw. And so typically once I know which side's which, I want to hold the shoulder side and then remove the screw side. Now each of these screws has some thread locker on it. It's your choice to put thread locker back in. I found I don't need it, but that does help keep the torque, and if you're kind of really hard on your tools and think that it's going to shake out, you can always put a little bit of thread locker back on. Just be really careful though with the thread locker not to get it in where the tools are. So once that screws out, we can push out this, but don't take it all the way out, just take it out enough that you can get the tool out, and you want to kind of put your finger in there to hold the gap open. In this case, like I said, we'll be removing these guys on your regular tool. Now on this guy, whoops, well, one thing I didn't show, so let me put this back in as a spacer. I did this exact same thing when I did the 4mm. Let's put those back in. There we go. What you're going to want to make sure and do is, in which case I am going to remove this guy. Well, no, I don't need to. What we're going to take is a 1/8 inch drill bit. Let me zoom out here so you guys don't have to be quite so close. And you want to make sure that this spins on a 1/8 inch drill bit. So if you need, you drill that out. I've done my absolute best to calibrate this so that the part comes out cleanly. But sometimes there's little burrs in there. Because this is a sintered product, there can be powder that gets kind of stuck inside. If you have a completely clogged hole, contact Shapeways. We've had one customer who had that issue. But if this spins on a 1/8 inch drill bit, you're good. And then you shouldn't have to do anything else with this. Now what we'll do is put our finger in there to hold the two springs apart. Pull this out, install this, and then we'll kind of push with the shoulder back in. Now I'll zoom in a little bit again this time. Move my light here, get it a little better light. One thing that can happen is these little springs move on you, and you can kind of push them down. There we go. And then push this flush with the spring. Insert that, and then push all the way through. Now, if you've held this under clamped force, well, yeah, this is the biggest annoyance that I have right now with the Free Series. I'm going to remove the clamp because there's a little washer floating around in here now, and it's stuck to the magnet. And that washer goes between the spring and this. So I'll show you how to kind of fix that. If that happens to you, it can kind of slip out. So pull that back, pull that out. In this case, I'm going to slide this spring away, and we need to get this back into its position. But unfortunately, like I said, it's pulled by the spring. So let's see here if we can get this in a better spot. Sorry, I'm getting off camera. Alright, let's go ahead and push this in. So now that I've removed the clamp, we can kind of separate. And I am going to try to find my tweezers. And we're going to try to use those to hold this while we get this into the right position. So I'm going to separate this. This goes between the spring and the scale. So we're going to use the tweezers and push that in, trying not to let it get into the magnet. Sorry, I'm trying to see what I'm doing here. Got cameras and lights in my own way. Let's grab a very small screwdriver, or here, let's do a needle. There we go. Get that circled around there. And I'm pushing up. I want to make sure that this gets the kind of thing snaps in. I'm pushing up with my finger from underneath, and now I'm back together. So while I'm holding this, we'll put in the screw so that that little washer can't slip away on us again. Of course, the screw can. Okay. Now once this is back together, you're going to want to hold one side and then tighten this, and you want to kind of play with it to see if you want this a little looser. That's a little too loose. Tighten. It really only takes quarter turns. There we go. So that's installed on my P2 now. And then, like I said, you can kind of change the tools around. Oh, that's still loose, isn't that? Yeah, let's tighten that. There we go. So this is also compatible. Let me zoom out. With the bit exchange holder. It's got a kind of a tight fit in here. I actually need to maybe even loosen this up. Ow. That'll loosen up a little bit over time. So you can use the bit extender with this. Let me get my camera or my light out of the way. So if you do longer reach, if you're not using the holster, you can actually kind of leave that docked if you don't mind that poking out, if you're going to keep it in the tool case. And then you can also pull that out and use it horizontally as a wrench. I've torque tested this on the 4mm, and I have details on the multitool.org thread. Suffice to say that it should be able to handle as much torque as any 1/4" bit you can kind of handle. Still goes in with the holster. And so, real simple. Once installed, you can lock this in and out. Obviously you can store your own bit with that. And then I now have holster options to store the flat bits and the bit extender. If you don't want to have the bit extender as tight as I had, you don't have to kind of click it all the way in. It will, let's see here, come on. Actually never had it this tight. This is a brand new holster. I think I'll loosen up a little bit. There we go. So I usually just take that, push it in, and it's more than enough. Alright, so this is available on my store on shapeways.com along with the other products. Search for Zap Wizard, and there's a link in the description below. Thanks for watching.